Wallace with Wallace the Jolly Business Partners.
Thank you. So how's everyone doing this beautiful Thursday evening? Great. Hey. Can you guys hear me okay in the background? It's okay? All right, fantastic. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come here. It was funny, we did a number of media events today on TV, on radio, and we were talking about everyone leaving here and being educated and being entertained. I just want you to know, I'm not the entertaining part, okay? Peter's the entertaining part. I'll try to brief you on where we stand on a number of different projects here. But I would like to start out and thank our co-sponsors today, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce. Peter and I had the opportunity of talking November, December timeframe. I was giving a speech in New Orleans. He was on right after me. And I said, you know, this is something that I think Joplin needs to hear. Because we talk about the economy, we talk about the projects that we're working on, the economic impact it has on a community. And obviously, when you sit there and you think about the parallel that in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina went through, its economic recovery and what Joplin's going through. So I thought it was appropriate for us to do that. So immediately after we stopped talking, I went out to the lobby and called Rob O'Brien and said, here's something we've got to do together. So I know, Rob, you're here in the back. You've been in Jefferson City all day speaking. Thank you for agreeing to co-host this. Would you guys join me in a round of applause? Thank you. And first of all, who here has been to every single one of the updates that we've done? Which means you've been to every single city council meeting. I know the council members, Jane, I know you guys have been there. All right, so not everybody. Who here, this is your very first time to come and see some of the projects? That's great. I can use the same jokes over again. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's wonderful. As I think many of you know, on a serious note, I was the mayor of the city of Sugar Land for 3 terms. That was during Hurricane Katrina, it was during Hurricane Rita, and it was a very difficult time. And I can attest that the leadership that this community has, the city council, the mayor, the city staff, is beyond reproach. And you guys should all be very proud of the leadership that you have. I know we've got 3 council members. Morris, would you mind standing up? Mayor Pro Tem, Bill, would you mind standing up? And Mike Woolston. The leadership that these guys provided, going through a very difficult time, and I know I'm understating it when I say difficult time, having a steady hand on the tiller that these people provided was incredible. And sitting around some of these tables, we have some city staff. And I'd like to ask the city staff to stand up as well, because these are the people that, in addition to council, were literally working the 24-hour a day, day in and day out on the recovery. These are wonderful people. You guys should say thank you. And now, who here knows where Sugar Land, Texas is? Not many of you. 22 miles southwest of Houston. Houston is one of our small, tiny suburbs to our northeast. That's where Wallace Berjolly has its headquarters. 165 years ago, Imperial Sugar went out to basically start growing sugarcane and started processing sugarcane. So it was a company town, and that's where we got our name, Sugarland. A lot of people ask that question. And you know, for 160 years of growing sugar, processing sugar, everywhere you go, you see the word sugar. Subdivisions like Sugar Lakes, Sugar Mill, Sugar Creek. We have a lake right in the middle of our community called Ragus Lake. Ragus, sugar spelled backwards. Stop and think about it. All of that emphasis on growing sugar, processing sugar, refining sugar. You know what our motto is in Sugar Land? Sugar Land where there is no equal. Oh, that's bad. Man. That is, it's corny. I'll be the first to admit it. But when I was mayor, you could come up with things like that, and people would laugh. So, in any event, tonight is a series in this process that we're going through. If you'll recall, 6 months ago when we signed the Master Development Agreement with the city, we committed at that point in time that this was not a developer-driven project. It was not a mayor's project, a city manager's project. It had to truly be a community project in order for it to be successful. The CART process, Jane Cage is sitting here. I know we have a chaired CART. We have other CART members that are here as well. The way that you reached out to the community to gather input as to what this community wants as it rebuilds, I think was incredible. And that truly is the foundation for which we're moving forward on. And every step of the way, we're reaching out to the community. We're asking for input. On each one of these tables, we have cards. We want your input. We want your feedback. If we're going down and we're about to turn left and you think we should go right, we want to hear about that. And so the public input process is extremely important. And we've continued that process. We will always do that every single month. We're meeting with city staff almost on a daily basis. We're sitting down with the city council members, getting that feedback. So every step of the way, we're getting the guidance. The plan when the city council basically moved forward was to move forward with a master developer. The city council could have sat by and said, all right, well, let's just use the same economic forces. That let's let supply and demand, let's let market come and build back what they want to build back. But many times when they build back, if you don't have an organized effort, if you don't have a program with incentives, with other type of funding tools, you don't do what CART wanted, which was build back better. And the city council made the decision to bring in a master developer. When we started the process, we did an inventory of all of the public assets that were lost in the tornado, as well as the private assets. We also sat down with the leadership and said, what assets do we have on the capital improvement plan for 5 years? We sat down with Missouri Southern saying, what are you guys looking for 5 years, 10 years from now? What were the assets that perhaps we could do a public-private partnership, use private sector capital to help enhance the quality and the speed of the developments? And that's exactly what we've done in connection with the master plan. These were just some very basic questions that were asked. And I know that early on, and we talked to the council members about this, the city staff, early on it was how can we reduce population loss? And I can give you countless studies that basically talk about the population in a community pre-event. Many communities never get back to that pre-event population. I know New Orleans is struggling in connection with that. And so early on it was, what can we do to curb that population loss? Now with the programs that we're doing, because of the economic development engine that the city staff, the leadership, the council have basically embraced, we're talking about growth. And we're talking about how can we use these as economic development tools and magnets to answer every single one of these questions. As a result of your input, you told us what type of assets you wanted. We initially isolated $1.9 billion of projects. That was the initial conversation we had with the CART, with the leadership here, as to this is what we think that this community is looking for. And so early on, after we signed the master development agreement, I think it was the following week, we unveiled these first, all in all, there's about 19 projects, even though some of them have been lumped together. But about $800 million of projects. The day after we signed the master development agreement, this is not a joke, I received a phone call from somebody saying, all right, you signed an agreement yesterday, where are the cranes? Where are the bulldozers? When are you going to get started? We have spent the last 6 months and doing a lot of very creative things. And again, I'll say this again about the leadership here in Joplin. There were some times where we basically went back to Brian Head, the city attorney that's here today, and we basically said, you know, we've got to have this procedure in place by Friday because there's a federal deadline where we're going to lose funding opportunities if we don't do it. And between him, the city manager, the leadership, jumping through hoops to call emergency city council meetings so that we could do just those things.